Imhotep family, and welcome to the Building the Lighted Temple Wisdom Service. And for the purpose of the recording, I am Dr. Nteri Nelson, a metaphysician, a licensed clinician and educator, and co-founder of the Academy of Kemetic Education and Wellness. So once again, African family, I welcome you to this service, this Building a Lighted Temple Wisdom Service, in which we come within these ethereal waters, this cultivated virtual space, this vibrational field in which we may amplify our vibration and distribute the light. I will greet each and every one of you in a moment. And so this is liberated space, beloveds. And, you know, once again, in the midst of these troubled times, we come into this amplified vibrational field in which to raise and hold that highest vibration within the temple that we ourselves have been building. We have been building this lighted temple that it may bear now a greater spiritual impress and vibration as we move into this dimensional shift, into this new world. And so our title has been Envisioning the New World. And in part of envisioning and the new world, we've been in the midst of reconciling things that have happened in the old or in this prior age, this Piscean age, as we make this dimensional shift into the Age of Hapi, Age of Aquarius. And we ended last week with the words from Bob Marley that Diane had so beautifully put in the chat for us. And so I just want to begin with those words again, because there's such orientation coming from this ancestor and, you know, and the prophetic vision that we all need to own and possess and to distribute. This is Redemption Song, and he says, "Old pirates, yes, they rob I, sold I to the merchant ships. Minutes after they took I from the bottomless pit. But my hand was made strong by the hand of the Almighty. We forward in this generation triumphantly." And so here we are, beloveds. Won't you help to sing these songs of freedom? 'Cause all I ever have, redemption songs, redemption songs. And so we are in these moments of expressing these songs of freedom and liberation and rebirth and resurrection. He goes on to say, emancipate yourselves from mental slavery. And in our look at our primal wisdom as expressed through one author, Gerald Massey, who also talks about this mental confusion, this mental slavery. So we've been integrating and synthesizing many themes around the time we live and this mental slavery and confusion. He says, emancipate yourselves from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. So this is you, this is I, that we are in the midst of. We are what we are looking for. Have no fear for atomic energy, because none of them can stop the time. And we all know that in the news, now, of course, we know there's been this capacity for nuclear warfare. We know there is nuclear armament on the planet. And of course, that nuclear power may be used on a higher turn of the spiral or on a lower turn of the spiral. Higher turn in terms of a more divine expression, lower spiral in terms of destruction, as any energy may be used. And we know that the planet is at the brink now of decision-making as to whether to use the armament that it has now in its supply, in its arsenal. So Bob Marley says, have no fear for atomic energy. In other words, we're moving through the things that now preoccupy the planet. And, you know, when our very own President Biden comes on and talks about Armageddon. And so, you know, think about this, beloveds. You know, a president can come on and talk about the economy, you know, inflation. He can talk about crime. He can talk about global warming. But when a president comes on and starts to talk about Armageddon, does it begin to settle in at a whole new level? So he says, because none of them can stop the time. How long shall they kill our prophets while we stand aside and look? Ooh, some say it's just a part of it. We've got to fulfill the book. And this is not just a book, but this is about the books. It's about the books that have been scribed to give us guidance. And so what are these books that we have been referring to, and how do we tap into that guidance now? Let me just come and just say good morning to each and every one that's here so far. So, beloveds, we're going to move, I always say, you know, put your seatbelts on. However, none of this is over our heads, but we are required to move very fluidly in the mind, very fluidly in the first eye, to hold the one at a timeness, the relationship between, and simultaneous all at onceness. We are required to hold, and as we hold, we are able to see from this very wide angle lens, and we have to hold many components simultaneously, and then understand or understand the cohering power that holds all together, the underlying unity in it all, so it all flows together. Nora says, oh, Dua, Sister Nora. Okay, Dua, beautiful. Okay, so here we go. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these three videos up on YouTube, this one today and the two prior ones, of this same topic that we have been on, because it's going to be important to review so that we can move forward, and also simultaneously begin to look more deeply into the metaphysics of nuclear power and where we are. And so that you know who you are, as in the one who is doing the looking, you know, in your outpost, in your own level of immersion in matter, in your emanation from the one and only one, in your little outpost of observation. We are holding that capacity to see ever more widely so that we may serve and be a guide to others as we move through and within these troubled times. So let me just gonna go here a moment. Thank you for your patience. Here we are. So we've been in this reconciling of Haru and this or the Messu. Let's just widen that angle and just say the Messu, and how the different naming of that Messu is something that we must come into reconciling, and then to understand from the wider angle that the astrological meaning and the astronomical meaning of what? The one and only, the ever-coming one, this ever-coming one of the sun, the S-U-N, the S-O-N, is an eternal process. It's an ever-coming one. But we've gotten fixated, as it were, in this Piscean energy to consider that coming one as a one and only time coming one, as we have been reading in our primal wisdom. So let's just get into a little more detail. And please, beloveds, put your questions in the Q&A, because questions do help. Others have the same question, and when you ask a question, you very likely are answering that question or asking it to be answered just as others have it on their mind. So we're in the process of, as we make this dimensional shift, of figuring out what we got from this prior age, besides Maafa and enslavement and really challenging times as we entered into this prior age, and simultaneously have felt the full force and grip of a white supremacist paradigm. So here we are in exiting this age, this Piscean age, and the appearance of the one and only coming one as that same one and only coming one has come in every age. You know, this is not a one-time thing, as this age would have you believe, this Piscean age would have you believe. And this is why astrology had to be astronomy, understanding the precession of the equinoxes. You know, all of this had to be suppressed. But our African ancestors understood the precession of the equinoxes. They understood the telling of time. So we are in that shift of, okay, so what we're figuring out what we've gotten from this prior age in order to move forward. And when we do that review, it's looking at not only the lower turn of the spiral, because energy in every age, because this 2,160-year period has been qualified by Piscean energy. So this is so important in our studies, that we understand what is Piscean energy. What does it look like in that band of when it's operating at its most primal divine expression, or when it's spiraled down. So we have that, and we know as we not only are in dwelling and immersed in, but as we are able to step back, it's been a rough ride, planetary wide during this Piscean age. Okay. However, as metaphysicians, we simultaneously hold an awareness that energy operates, it may operate at a lower turn of the spiral because it's just vibration. Or it might operate on a higher turn of the spiral. It might operate on a material, dense, coarse base expression, or that energy may operate on a higher divine expression. So when we look at Piscean energy, as we talked about last time, on a higher spiral, that is about faith, it's about service, it's about really, humanitarian, on a higher turn of the spiral, where you would feed the hungry, you would feed the poor, you would be caregiving to others. You would, as they say, love your neighbor as yourself. So, there's some higher spiral things we want to, it's Pisces on a higher spiral is about compassion. Many of you have Pisces in your chart. And so, when hearing this, Pisces you can't just talk about the lower spiral in this age, you have to talk about the higher spiral. So Pisces in healing and compassion and caregiving, so on. Now, but we do have to look at also that lower spiral, and this has been a painful period, and it's been in that pain, as I talked about last session, that folks like yourselves, like myself, we have sought to look at other ages in which, and so that's brought us back into our primal wisdom, which really it has been a forerunner and has informed the teachings in this age. So what is it that we do when we step back and look at the ages? We're looking at, okay, we are downloading the higher spiral and the lower spiral in the age that preceded that and preceded that. But now, as we make this shift, we are looking at, okay, what are we, if we are envisioning the new world, and we are envisioning an ever-coming one who is coming in this new age, the age of Aquarius, what are and what the astrological and meteorological energies qualify that age? What are the energies that are qualifying this age and the sun, the S-O-N and the S-U-N, that's coming, as they say, through, coming through, because it's eternal. It's not like one stop. So what is the energy, the Aquarian energy of the one, the S-U-N, the S-O-N, that is coming through now? And when we step back and look at the Piscean age, and we sit with the imagery, the ideology, the dogma, the books that were put forth, um, there's a lot of mixed review. There's a lot of, this is the mental confusion and the mental, sorting out the mental enslavements, sorting out some of the lower spiral things that have happened in this time period. But as I have cautioned, we can't throw out the baby with the bathwater. We have to garner the treasure of the good, because it empowers us in moving forward. Just like I have said, in our personal lives, when we have these traumas or impacts, we have the duty to sort out, well, why is this happening to me? What is this teaching me? And to be strengthened by the capacities that are developed in us to get through that time, so that we may carry forward into the next aspect of our lives. So on another higher, more expanded level, we're doing the same now, beloveds. And I want you to just hold the thought that not everyone is having this conversation today, because you'll see, if you're here, and I want over the next several sessions to do a deeper review before we go into the metaphysics of nuclear capacity. I want to see if we can get more people to come, but nevertheless, I want to say more about the level of the people that are here. Because if you're able to be within these ethers, there's something you're responding to spiritually. And let me give you some hints about that. And that is, if you go on YouTube, you'll see videos that I've done on how we are both Noah, N-O-A-H, and Knower, K-N-O-W-E-R. So we are called to be Noah and knowers, all right? And that means each and every one here in this, listening in this ethereal space, has been called to build that lighted temple, that ark, that bark, because of the rising spiritual waters in which we now live, and navigating through the spiritual implications of this perfect storm that we're in. So each and every one of you, and that building that lighted temple is you, and it is through your radiance, your holding a higher vibration, that you are drawing into your midst, two by two, taking on board and offering shelter and safe haven to those in need. Because you've been at this work of building that lighted temple for quite a while, many lifetimes. And think about a boat. Think about Noah, N-O-A-H, building an ark, a bark, in which others could come. You don't want to start that process. You got to start that process before the storm really hits. I think about how tedious it is to build the vessel and navigate a perfect storm. So if you're here and you're coming each week and you haven't dropped out and off, there's something to examine there. Okay. Now, but moreover, having done all that, that's just the forerunner. Now we want to, and this is why, and other members have brought in biblical, they brought in Bob Marley, they brought in, because we have to examine many things right now. So as we look at envisioning the new world, we want to turn not only to our primal Kemetic wisdom, but we want to turn also biblically. And so, beloveds, the place that we turn now is for you to know that per these services, you're looking and examining how you are also biblically Moses. You're Moses. Now, how now how are you Moses? So we've already talked about how you're Noah, but you're Moses because and no matter what might get stirred up in the emotional body about the story itself, we have to be with the metaphor, because we have to find the baby in the bathwater everywhere in order to find our way. And so how are you Moses? Well, when we go back through the ages, we see, and we look biblically, that the whole idea of Moses going up the mount, and he gets the 10 Commandments, which we know has its base in the 42 laws of Ma'at. So we got all that. However, we need to look further. And when he came back down, he was enraged because the people who he had so-called brought out of a condition and now we're moving into what was to be the promised land. Now listen to the similarities. Out of a condition to be brought. So we're in a shift too. Moses was in a shift. All right. So what can we learn from that? What might be, because Jung talked about the collective consciousness. There's nothing new under the sun. So we're always musing with the same and one and the same collective struggles and triumphs in this journey. So what can we learn now from Moses? Well, when he came down the mount, he was outraged that the people who he was helping to shepherd into from their condition, their prior condition. And, and we know there's controversy in the story within the story. So let's just see, when we very fluid in the mind, we can just how do we do it? We light upon one at a time. Okay, so we know that, okay, did that whole story of the enslavement of the Israelites and all of that. We can light upon that, but not light doesn't mean get lost. So, but as we keep moving in that fluidity, we can light on that, but not get stuck like Velcro so that we can't move or see anything else. So that's what we're doing, beloveds. So enjoy the journey. All right, so he was enraged, and we want to understand more about what that symbolism means, because the people had made, they felt lost. They couldn't, they were like betwixt in between the God that they had and the God that they hadn't, or the promise that was not being fulfilled, and the promise that they hoped to be fulfilled. And so they melted all their gold and they fashioned a golden calf. Now, what enraged Moses is that was a symbol, And of course, beloved, you'll hear other translations, so just take it in. But what enraged Moses is that was the symbol of the age they were leaving behind. And beloveds, rest assured, we are in the same place. We are in the same place of needing to take what we've garnered and then move on to the new. We need to take what we've garnered in the Piscean Age and move fully into the Aquarian Age. And we also need to hold an awareness, beloveds, as we step back in that wider angle, that because we've been so mistreated in this age, we sought other ages to look at to find our bearing, to get to like, what the heck, what happened here? We have no history. Oh no, this can't be. So we researched and we reclaimed and so we're setting the record straight, and we're setting even a bigger stellar record straight, which is, wait a minute, this is about the Evercoming ONE and the precession of the equinoxes. This is not about a one and only time thing. So when we accept the bill of goods because that's where we were, and then we say, wait a minute, this is a bit of a bill of goods. We can't accept. We know that was a stage, and there was something to be garnered in that stage, but now we got to move on. To the point, beloveds, where I have said to you, and this might feel like a hard saying, we likewise have to pull back from the golden calf. We have to pull, and let's look now at the passage that supports what is being said here. I'm going to go to Gerald Massey. So hold, let me do my share screen. Someone has a question. Roderick says, this video about the science of the aurora borealis is like a visual of what you're saying. I think, wow, laugh out loud. All right, so let's make sure everybody has that link. Just gonna copy that right there. Just should be in my, hold on a moment. This here, just so I get that link, Roderick, because anytime something is shared, we need to really pay attention. Why is that? Because no one of us knows, like Diane sharing that Bob Marley that touched us so deeply. No one of us knows what we all may know together and as one. So I just pasted that link. Let me just come back here to okay, so let me come here. All right, and Diane says, was there a significance to the golden idol being given the image of a calf and the symbol of, yes, the fertility in Kemet, the cow? Yes. Was there a significance to the golden idol being given the image of a calf and the symbol of fertility in Kemet, the cow? Absolutely. And we're going to go there in a moment, Diane, because you're right on top of where I'm going to take you next. And let me just check the chat. And the chat says, Diane says, Grand Rising, the cool hotel. Okay. Yep. Nora, Great and Grand Rising family, and also welcome back our sister Rosangela. Yes, you have to tell us all about your venturing and journey at your you're building the light, your spiritual bark, your spiritual ark that you have built, that others may come in during these troubled times. And that's what everyone is charged with. And Roderick says, thank you. Tim says, so we're moving from belief, expectation to knowing, experience. Absolutely, Tim. And that is the shift from the Piscean Age to the Age of Aquarius. So let me just come here now to the place I want to take you in. All right, So you should be able to see this. So this is, we've been in this work, and I'm going to skip around. And why am I going to skip around? Because we are, sometimes, teaching methods vary, and sometimes, the instruction is step by step where you're plodding along and just, okay, perfect. And then there is teaching where we just need to scan a bigger and just put a toe, and then put a toe over here, and then put a toe over there. And then this is also a way of seeing the outline of a very big picture, very big picture. As a matter of fact, if we don't have the capacity to do the latter, we'll be here forever. which is where we are. We're here forever anyway. But we'd be here forever. So we want to be able to get the wide outlines of this. We want to be, and nothing is over our heads. We all have the capacity. And it's within this capacity, in this knowingness, in this greater or all-sightedness, this larger vision, that anything happening in the emotional body will dissipate. Any fear, any doubt, any trepidation, or, I mean, beloveds, you hold an awareness that there are prophecies that speak about, given this Armageddon, there'd be, no flesh on the planet, meaning it's a big deal. It's a big deal. And yet on a day-to-day basis, we go about our lives to the best of our ability, and we demonstrate a kind of steadfastness and imperturbability. We have to be immovable in that center where the will of God is known. We have to be immovable. We have to be in our stance. And there's all kinds of stuff happening. Okay, shooting over there, this over there. Lots of things are happening simultaneously. But how do we fortify ourselves in such a way that because now we're Moses, we're working to make that shift, and there are people who are counting on that guidance. And of course, there are things in the Moses story that need further elaboration, but because they, kind of wandered around in the wilderness for 40 years, and Moses made some, had some missteps, and so he never made it into the promised land. So there's lots of story within story within story, but we want to just see the clearest outline of what our consciousness can be informed of, what we can substantially touch that is essential in our journey, and then we can just sort of sort out the rest. But so here we go. I want to read this. Okay, so let me read. And you see that we're starting on page 730. So there's stuff that hasn't been read yet. But that's all right. We're just putting a toe. And it says here, but with Haru, born of Virgo, in the zodiac. And I'm going to show you that in the PowerPoint in a moment. The birthplace of the babe, what? The babe, the ever-coming one, was figured in the vernal equinox. So that's when we're in the sign of Virgo, the birthplace. So now the birth of the sun, the S-O-N, the S-U-N, is figured at the equinox. So there's the beginning. There is the beginning of that age, and thus became subject to the changes in precession. So this is like not the starting in the beginningless starting point, but a starting point. So in Virgo, but with Haru born of Virgo in the zodiac, the birthplace of the babe was figured in the vernal equinox and thus became subject to the changes in precession. So now we have this babe, this Haru, this Messu, born in Virgo, and I'll show you that in a moment. The birthplace of the babe was figured in the vernal equinox and thus became subject to the changes in the precession. Now it's about that Haru. And remember, Haru, the elder, is co-eternal with the universal Ba, the universe, that conception of the creator and the creation, the universal Ba, the cosmic sun egg. So this Haru, the elder, is co-eternal and precessing and making its appearance in each and every age. So here we are with Virgo, and it says, thus became subject to the changes in precession. It parted company with the lesser year of inundation to travel, here, beloveds, from sign to sign around the circuit of the world's great year. So I'll show you that in a moment. And I want to help you do the math, beloveds. See the math here. If you within each age, so let me go to the PowerPoint. Let me stop this share. Let me go to the PowerPoint. Okay. And let's in the beginning, slideshow. Okay, so here you see that pointer. All right. So here we see the constellation of Virgo here. So this is the birthplace, and we're moving around. We're processing through we're in the precessional cycle with the movement of Virgo, Leo, Cancer, Gemini, and Taurus. So I do want to go back now and find that verse that I wanted to read to you, because it's about this age and the bull, and that's what Diane was speaking to. It's about this age and the bull. But you see that we've had the precession through, let's see. Okay, through Aries and Pisces. So this Aries is the lamb or the ram, the age of the lamb, the ram. And then and that's moving then to this Piscean and then the age of Aquarius. So let me go back and find that passage that is essential for me to share with you. All right, how's everybody doing? Please ask your questions. I know you have them, and this is how we're going to get the greatest clarity, by having you ask the questions that you have. I'm not able to locate it at the second, but let me just paraphrase then. If we tarry in the prior age, so I'm going to stop sharing here and come back to this image. If we, when we have, even though we feel an affinity to what has happened in these prior ages, particularly because this was the, you know, the age of our solar calendar. You'd find King Namur in this age. You'd find the dynasties. We still have to pull ourselves back, see what we've garnered, and move on. And so, beloveds, the point today is for us to see why we might have been so distressed and distraught by the things that happened to us in this age, this Piscean age, that we hearken back to an earlier times that have even informed this time and have been like fragments of those earlier times for our grounding, for our bearing. But nevertheless, we too have to unstick ourselves like Velcro so that we can look forward to the Aquarian age and to ask and to inquire what are the energies qualifying this age? What is it that we will grasp or glimpse as the one making the ever-coming one making its appearance in this age? Do you resonate what is being said? Do you resonate with the inquiry at hand if we are to envision the new world in this dimensional shift? And so we have a question here. Ronald says, I've been considering this stuff in my studies. God is so good. Now you're clarifying the same. Thank you, Doctor. Peace and blessings. Peace and blessings. Yes, Ronald. And to go look at Diane's question again, was there a significance to the golden idol being given the image of a calf in the symbol of fertility? And that's what was happening. The people were, you know, because they hadn't gotten where they were going, they just went back. You know, we savor where we have been, and as we as we make the shift forward. And so yes, that age, the Taurian age, that's why there's so much symbolism of the calf, the cow, Heteru, the bull. Our African ancestors teach us we are the bull of heaven, ascending from that physical realm all the way through up the stairs to, you know, to indwell all the planes of consciousness, how we are like an elevator ride moving from this physical realm to that spiritual realm. That's what our African ancestors have given us. And with this awareness now, beloveds, hopefully you can begin to see, you know, you have your daily preoccupations, you know, how you're getting from A to B in terms of the things on your to-do list, the things you have to do, but you have wider a wider angle to understand the time we're living in, and that, like Moses, you're working to cross over, and like Moses, it requires, helping people not be Velcro-like and crossing over. I mean, if like, what did I say? The camel getting through the eye of the needle. I mean, if you want to take everything that you do take what you have. It's a synthesis. It's a synthesis, but you have to keep going. You have to keep moving, and as we step into this promised land, this new world, imbued with the energies of Aquarius. So we have to know what those energies are, not only on a lower turn, but a high turn. What are we working with, and how are we building? And I think, let's see, did I see a question or? Okay, Tim says, perhaps it was us as Sankofa going back to obtain that consciousness of the bull to go forward. Yes, through ancestral past life remembrance. Beautifully, beautifully expressed. You know why? Because what got expunged in this age was our ancestors. We were cut off from not only our history, but our ancestral connection. And if we had an altar, if we were in remembrance of, that was termed voodoo and so many other things, and even rebirth, even reincarnation was expunged from our history. And I write about this in my book, Ka'aba, Building the Lighted Temple, how these things were expunged. And now we've got to, we have to step back and say, wait a minute now, that that was taken away, but that was what we need to go forward. That was good stuff. We need to reclaim that, and in order to move forward. We've been in a fixity around death, and Gerald Massey speaks to this. Yes, very well expressed, Tim. We needed that Sankofa moment to obtain the consciousness of the bull to go forward, to know that we're not just this on this physical flesh, blood, and bone body that dies, but that we are the ever coming ones. We are eternal, and that's what we have to give the world going forward, is what we've gotten along the way, not just in that age, but in every age. We have to be able to impart this wisdom in going forward. And that made me think about what Tim said. That made me think I wanted to go back to share the screen. And closing, because we're just about there. Oh, there's another, is there a question? Oh, okay, let's do this question. It says, we the knower, this is Rosangela, beloved. We the knowers need to be extra attentive with the negative energy of those who are in debt, absolutely, who are in desperation of this time. Yes, we must be doing our spiritual work is a great number of people infringing the divine laws for money, yes, success and power in and out of our community, beautifully expressed. I mean, because we're in these last vestiges of the material age, and that materiality is fully externalizing in every, that's what happens, the evils of materialization and consciousness are fully externalized. Why is that? Because it's been in the cover of darkness that these things have been able to fester. However, as we now have increasing light in this shift now into the spiritualization of consciousness, because our planet itself is orienting itself toward more light from the Milky Way galaxy, which, so now there's less darkness. The veil has been rent, so there's less darkness in which to do one's deeds. And when you go and disperse darkness, it will seek to regather itself. And we've seen this over and over and over again in history, where, like Michelle Alexandra says, the old Jim Crow, the way of enslaving people, just became the new prison system. It just looks different. It just regathered itself. And that's what evil does until light just ferrets it out, and it just can't hide. It's in plain, and that's what we're seeing now in plain. People are lying just in plain daylight. They're saying, like, the emperor's new clothes. They're saying the emperor has on clothes, and you and I are the little boy and girl in the crowd, and we're saying, the emperor's naked. What do you mean he has on clothes? We're being sold this, as they say, bill of goods. So we'll end with Rosangela's comment, and she says, is a great number of people infringing the divine laws for money, success, and power in and out of our community. Yes, and so they do say, be aware of, of false prophets and false advertising and false promises. More than ever, we need to be in alignment with the laws to rise and maintain our divine energy, to do our purpose here, absolutely express. And Rosangela is speaking to each and every one of our hearts. Challenging times, not possible to go through without meditation and invocation daily. Yes, we have to be we have to be at our fighting weight, meaning, we've, it's on. This isn't this, I said 20 years ago, there's no more dress rehearsals. This is it, it's on. And we just need to know and keep our focus on a daily basis. Thank you for that, Rosangela. I want to just leave us with this. The advent of the Messu, the Hebrew Messiah, parentheses, the Messu is the Messu, was periodic in appearance in accordance with the natural phenomena, not once for all. And once for all, or once and for all, could have no meaning in relation to that which was ever coming from age to age, from generation to generation, or forever and ever. Our African ancestors say in Mejunecha, or Jet Nehehe, through eternity. Eternity itself to the Kemites of the ritual was Aeonian and synonymous with millions of repetitions, therefore ever coming in the likeness of perennial renewal, whether in the water, spring of earth, or the day spring on high, the papyrus shoot, the green branch, or as Horus or Haru, the child in whom a savior was at length embodied as a figure of eternal source. And remember, for our African ancestors, it was not about sin. It was about sustenance. This ever coming one, as the new sun, as the one and only sun, in its appearance, cloaked now in the astrological energies of that age, came because we needed that band of energy to be imbued with that band of energy at that particular time as part of the divine plan, that we would be cultured with the energies of Virgo, with the energies of Gemini, with the energies of Taurus. So, but it's a movement, and it is about the ever coming one, not once and for all. And now people are needing to, wait a minute, were we told there was a Santa Claus and there really isn't one? You know how if that's been part of your experience, people moving from that, like, oh, wait a minute, this wasn't a one-time thing. It was a, we have to, or else we are collapsed in time. We don't move. And can we? And what did Bob Marley say? We can't be. You can't. What were his words on? Emancipate yourselves from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. Did we think a white supremacist paradigm was going to do this for us? What would be in it for them to do that for us? None but ourselves can free our minds. Have no fear for atomic energy, because none of them can stop the time. It's not going to stop the time. What stops the time is when we subscribe to death and darkness and depravity and diminishment as in sin, as our condition, instead of what our African ancestors have taught us, which is about the ever-coming one that's bringing sustenance. It's just a new, and it's a different flavor. Remember what Howard Johnson said had like 29 flavors? Well, let's just stay with 12 flavors. We're getting a different flavor now going into the Aquarian, and a new sun, a new, by whatever way that appearance may appear, it's a new sun, and that sustenance is the overcoming of darkness and depravity and deprivation, and that's what the new sun brings. And so as Moses now, we move, ending here, beloveds, the Spirit always speaks about where to end. We're moving those who we have been called to be of service from the fish to the water bearer, who is pouring forth bountiful, replenishing waters, spiritual waters, because Aquarius is about spiritual waters. It's actually an air sign, but it's about the fiery midst of water, for thirsty humanity, to quench thirsty humanity, and to wash away the filth and the stench that has occurred on this lower spiral. Think about those waters that are cleansing and clearing at this time. So I look forward to seeing each and every one of you next week, and bring your questions, bring your inquiries, know what time it is, be, you know your part as Noah and Moses. I mean, you know, you have much to do and much to accomplish. Roderick says, thank you, everyone. All right. Peace and love. Peace and love. All of you are water bearers. Waters of noon, cleansing and clearing, refreshing, resurrecting, renewing, quenching the thirst, and clearing away the debris of the prior age, carting away the rubble. See how the storm came through and with all that water and just, don't worry about, I mean, we have to, on one level, from one little vantage point, we say, oh, gee, look at all that happening. But when you look at the grander scale, it's going to be just a sweep of that water and all this gunk and muck and mire and lower spiral. It's going to be washed away. And so be steadfast and immovable. Be steadfast and immovable. Roderick says, yes. Diane says, none of us can stop the time. Yes, Diane, none of us can stop time. And that's what this lower spiral Christian dispensation tried to do, stop. But we say, wait a minute, how do we subscribe to that? We're stepping back, like, how did we believe in Santa Claus? How did we do that? And Martha says, peace, dua netru, yes, dua Nteri, beautiful. Sandra, thank you. Ever have a great Sunday. And Anika, loose the floodgates in our minds. Well said, Sandra, beautiful. Peace and love. Bring others to these ethereal waters that they may get great clarity in their life purpose and fulfill their life purpose and service. What better thing to do when we throw our feet over the bed each morning to what our head, heart, hands, and feet find to do, except fulfill the reason and meaning for our being here. What else could there be? What else could be better? Okay, beloveds. Rachel says, peace and blessings. Yes, it was great seeing you yesterday, Rachel, and the boys at the event. Okay, peace and love. Bring others. See you next week.